The winning blueprint presents.
Draft Zone.
Welcome to the Draft Zone. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. This is the draft game. 32 teams, over 500 players in the pool to pick from. One draft. What is your team going to do? Here to focus in on the first round selection of the Kansas City Chiefs. And we'll be back to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and their overall draft as a whole. But right now, I just want to focus on the first round selection for the Kansas City Chiefs. And what we'll be doing in the draft game is essentially taking the first round selection of X said team, in this case, the Kansas City Chiefs, and applying a baseball connotation to it using a single, double, triple, or home run as a label for a player that you have drafted in the past. Look at your draft history and what you've been able to do as a franchise in drafting in the first round, and using those things to kind of help determine what you'll do in this draft. Now, of course, the past has no bearing on what you do in the future, but just for fun, we'll look at the Chiefs' history from 2000 to 2012, see what they've done in the past, use that, average out a grade as to what the Chiefs will do with their number one overall selection. So here we go. Looking at the Kansas City Chiefs and prior drafts. Now let's look at the draft itself and the number one overall selection over the years since the year 2000 up till 2012 and grade them out. So this sheet that you see before you has every single draft pick on it in the first round from 2000 to 2012. And we'll go over the list of players and we'll talk about what those players' value has been, in my estimation, to this point as related in terms of being drafted. So we'll give each of these players who have been drafted number one overall since 2000 a grade. They'll either be a single, a double, triple, home run, or they'll strike out. So let's see what these players have done to this point. Look at 2000. The number one overall pick was Courtney Brown, the linebacker out of Penn State. That's a strikeout, folks. No other way to say it. Flamed out of the league relatively early, maybe after a 4 or 5 year career. Didn't do much. Injuries really beset him in his career. That's a strikeout. So you look at 2001. Michael Vick was your number one overall selection. That's a solid double. His career to this point has been a solid double. So really no qualms there. Vick comes in at a double. Look at David Carr. That is a strikeout, folks. Career backup, never did anything in the league as a starter. That's a strikeout, folks. David Carr in 2002, a strikeout. So you look at Carson Palmer. 2003, that's a solid double. Career could have been better, could have been worse. He's a double. Solid. Carson Palmer, 2003, a double. Eli Manning in 2004, your overall number one selection. That's a home run, folks. That's our first of the number one picks since 2000. 2004, Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowl victories to his credit to this point in his career. Much more to come. who knows, there could be more Super Bowls in the future. He is, without a doubt, a home run. The Giants knocked it out of the park. Remember, he was drafted by San Diego, then traded to the Giants. Either way, Eli Manning, a home run. Alex Smith. Early on, you could argue this was looking like a strikeout. But he salvaged his career. I like to think that he's been actually solid. If you go back and look at his numbers, he hasn't been as bad as one would think. Alex Smith comes in at a double, barely. He had to slide head first to get in safe. But Alex Smith is a double. Mario Williams, #1 overall selection in 2006, has had a solid career to this point, so he gets a double. He could have been better, but he's been solid. Double for Mario Williams. You look at 2007, Jamarcus Russell. Do I really need to tell you what Jamarcus Russell grades out to be? I'll tell you anyway. He's an absolute strikeout. Never took the bat off of his shoulders. That's a strikeout, my friends. Jamarcus Russell, 2007, an absolute strikeout. So you look at Jake Long, 2008. I think this guy is a triple. I think he's had a very good career. Injuries have gotten him over the last couple of seasons, but he's still been very serviceable in his league. Just landed himself a very lucrative deal in St. Louis. I think Jake Long's a really good left tackle in his league. He's been a triple to this point. You look at Matthew Stafford, another triple. Can't give him a home run because he hasn't won a Super Bowl title. And yes, we do hold quarterbacks to a different standard in this league. I am no different. I hold them to a very high standard. And so Matthew Stafford is a triple. Now, it's not just based off of what you've done in terms of numbers. Also, it's what your career projects to be as well. There's many different factors that go into what you grade out, whether you're a single, a double, a triple, a home run. There's production on the field, and then there's projection to what your career will be as well. And so all those things are factored in. Matthew Stafford comes in as a triple. Sam Bradford. I've been really hard on him. He's had it tough in St. Louis, but I think he's a solid quarterback. You look at his numbers, they're not that bad. He's a double right now. Not just because of the production on the field, but what I think he can be in this league. I think Sam Bradford right now is a double. Cam Newton. I grade him out as a triple. And he's had a really good career to this point. Hasn't always translated to wins on the field, but the numbers don't lie. He's been a very good quarterback in his first 2 seasons. Cam Newton is a triple. So you look at last year's #1 overall selection, Andrew Luck, and I can't give anyone that was drafted a year ago a home run because you don't know what these guys are going to do in year 2. And so you got to be careful. I give Andrew Luck a triple because he came in and immediately turned this Indianapolis Colts franchise around, took them to the postseason. He's a triple. You grade out years 2000 to 2012. You average them out, and it comes out to be a solid double. And so drafting at the #1 overall selection nets you a double. So now you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and what they've been able to do in their draft history from years 2000 to 2012. Let's take a look back at the Chiefs and what they've been able to do in the first round in those years and see how they grade out in their past and see how that's going to project into this 2013 draft. So you look at the 2000 season and the Chiefs drafted Sylvester Morris. Strikeout. He went up there swinging, but did not make any contact. That's a strikeout for the Chiefs in the year 2000. So you look at 2001, there was no first round selection for the Chiefs. They traded that to the St. Louis Rams. So there's nothing on the board there for the Kansas City Chiefs. You go to 2002, Ryan Sims, single. He wasn't anything special. Didn't get a second contract from the Chiefs. Single. Larry Johnson. He had a very short window in the National Football League as a dominant back. When you give a guy the football 417 or 416 or 400 and some odd times in one season, he's going to flame out very quickly. And that's exactly what happened to Larry Johnson. But for a 2 or 3 year stretch, he was the most dominant back in the league. Double for Larry Johnson. Would love to give him a triple, but he got halfway to third and realized he was going to get gunned at third base, turned around and went back to second. Smart move. It's a double for Larry Johnson. You look at 2004, no first round selection for the Chiefs. You traded that pick to the Detroit Lions. So we move on to 2005, where you drafted Derek Johnson. Solid pick. Like the acquisition of Derek Johnson. He's been a double in this league to this point. Really like Derek Johnson and what he's been able to do for the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at your 2006 selection, Tamba Hali, and this is when it starts to heat up for the Kansas City Chiefs. You started making good selections, and this was another good selection. This is a triple. Tamba Hali has been a guy that's been very consistent over the last 3 seasons of his career. Double-digit sacks in 2010 and 11, almost double digits in 2012. I like Tamba Hali a lot. He forces fumbles when he gets to the quarterback. Triple for Tamba Hali. You go to 2007, Dwayne Bowe, another good pick. You just extended him on a long-term deal. A double for Dwayne Bowe. Like the consistency. Would like to see him stay a little bit more healthy and see him make some more plays. But you can't argue with a guy that had 15 touchdown grabs in one season. He's been over 1,000 yards at least 3 or more times in his career. And so I like Dwayne Bowe. It's a double for Dwayne Bowe in 2007. You look at 2008, Glenn Dorsey. A lot of disappointment here. A single for Glenn Dorsey. Could easily have been a strikeout, but I think he's been better than a strikeout. I think he's produced enough to warrant a single. He had to leg it out. He thought about sliding, but he just barely made it a single for Glenn Dorsey. You look at Tyson Jackson, another guy that you give a single to reluctantly, but you can't call him a strikeout yet. I wouldn't go as far as to say that he's a strikeout. I think he's solid. Nothing special. Again, for as high as you drafted him, you would like to see this guy pan out and do more. But he's a single. Take it as is. You look at Eric Berry, a double. And had it not been for that ACL injury, we could be possibly talking about a triple here. But nonetheless, Eric Berry has been extremely solid, especially that rookie campaign. He burst onto the scene. Big things look to be on the horizon. Then you get the ACL injury, kind of took a step back. But I think Eric Berry projects to be a double right now. Very solid safety for you in that secondary. You look at Jonathan Baldwin. I'm being very judicious here. Single for Jonathan Baldwin, or as he likes to be called, John Baldwin. Being judicious here. He could easily be a strikeout, but it's too early. I don't like criticizing nor projecting guys to be strikeouts when they've only been in the league 2 seasons. I'll cut him some slack, but I do not like what I see out of John Baldwin. And I will cut him extra slack because the quarterback position in Kansas City has not been ideal. And so I'll give him a break, give him a single, and I'll go on to 2012 where you selected Don Terry Poe. I didn't like the selection then. I still don't like the selection. But again, I do not like projecting guys to be strikeouts. So I will cut him slack, give him a single as well. So you add all of those totals up, all the singles, doubles, triples. You did not hit a home run. In 2008, I left out Brendan Albert. He was a double as well. And so you double dipped in the first round in 2008, getting Glenn Dorsey, coming back later on in that round and getting a guy like Brendan Albert. He is a double in my book right now. He may not be with the Chiefs much longer. Not happy about possibly being moved from left tackle. We'll see what that saga ends up yielding for the Chiefs. But a double for Brendan Albert in 2008. And so let's tally up those numbers and get an average for what the Chiefs have done in the first round since 2000. You add those numbers up, and it's a single. It's a solid single for the Kansas City Chiefs. So you haven't been that great at drafting in the past. It did not help those 2 years where you did not have a first round pick. Doesn't help when you have guys who strike out like Sylvester Morris. And it doesn't help when you get a bunch of singles. Look, a single is better than striking out. So you'll take a one-bagger over a strikeout. But the Chiefs have been a team over the years that have graded out to about a single in their draft history. So you look at this number one overall selection. You take into consideration that over the years, this position has yielded out about a double over time. And so the Chiefs drafting at a single rate, this position, number one overall, grading out at around a double. You got to think that the Chiefs have the ability to go out and get at least a double. At this number one selection, the Chiefs have the pick of the litter. When you draft number one, anything and everyone is at your disposal. You could trade out of this spot. You could take someone. Every single player in the draft is at your disposal. So what would the Chiefs do? Right now, it looks like a left tackle. Will it be Eric Fisher out of Central Michigan? Will it be Luke Joeckel out of Texas A&M? Could it be Deion Jordan out of Oregon? Sharif Floyd out of Florida? We don't know. The Chiefs can do whatever they want with this pick. Past history says that you're going to find a way to get the guy at number one that's solid but not great. Can you buck that trend? Can you draft a guy that is an absolute home run? Chiefs have not drafted this high in the draft in that little window that I've just given you, 2000 and 2012. You did not draft number one overall. The highest you've drafted was 2009 with Tyson Jackson. And we all know how he's been solid but nothing special in this league. So let's see what the Chiefs do with this number one overall selection. I'd like to think that they're going to take a left tackle, and I like to think that that left tackle is going to play really well for the Kansas City Chiefs. The odds say, and history says, that over the last decade and some change that you're going to draft a solid player. He's not going to be great. He's not going to knock your socks off. Much in the mold of Brendan Albert, he's going to be okay. He's going to be a double, but he's not going to exceed a double. Let's hope, if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, that the numbers and statistics from 2000 to 2012 are lying, and that you're actually going to get a guy that grades out at a triple or potentially a home run. And that is the draft game. Kansas City Chiefs, number one overall selection.